In the heart of a quiet countryside where orchards spread like carpets of green and the air was filled with the fragrance of ripening fruits, lived a clever fox known among the creatures of the forest as Felix. Felix was sharp, cunning, and quick-witted, but he was also known for one more thing: his endless appetite. One hot summer afternoon, after wandering through the fields for hours without finding a single bite to eat, Felix grew weary and hungry. His stomach rumbled loudly, echoing his desperation, and his dry tongue longed for something juicy and sweet to refresh him. He wandered from one hedgerow to another, from one field to the next, but luck seemed to be against him that day. Just as his paws grew heavy with fatigue, his eyes lit up with sudden delight. There, beyond a small wooden fence, stood a vineyard. The vines were heavy with plump, glistening grapes, dangling in thick bunches like purple jewels under the golden sunlight. The sight made Felix's mouth water instantly and his heart beat faster with excitement. At last, he thought, fortune has smiled on me. With renewed energy, Felix crept toward the vineyard. His eyes scanned the vines eagerly, and he spotted a bunch of grapes hanging high, shining as though they had been placed there just for him. He licked his lips and crouched low, ready to leap. With a swift motion, he sprang into the air, but alas, his paws barely brushed the lowest leaves of the vine. The grapes hung far above, beyond the reach of even his best jump. Felix landed back on the ground with a thud, his pride slightly bruised. But Felix was not one to give up easily. He backed away, gave himself a running start, and leapt higher this time, stretching his body to its limit. Again, he fell short. The grapes seemed to laugh at him, swaying gently in the breeze just out of reach. Felix panted heavily, his sides heaving, but determination burned within him. "I must have those grapes," he told himself. "They will quench my thirst and fill my belly." Once more he prepared himself, digging his paws into the dirt for leverage, and sprang upward with all his strength. His claws swiped the empty air, missing by mere inches, and he tumbled backward, rolling into the dust. The sun blazed mercilessly above, making his fur hot and his throat drier with every passing moment. Still, Felix refused to surrender. Time and again he jumped, each effort weaker than the last, until his legs trembled and his body ached. Yet the grapes remained where they were, untouched, unbothered, mocking his efforts from their lofty height. Frustration boiled inside him. He growled, pacing back and forth, glaring at the vines as though they had personally insulted him. His hunger gnawed at his belly, and his pride stung even worse than his empty stomach. At last, after one final attempt that left him sprawling in the dust, Felix collapsed beneath the shade of a tree, panting heavily. He stared at the grapes with tired, bitter eyes. "Humph," he muttered angrily. "Why should I waste my energy on those grapes? They are probably sour and unripe anyway. I wouldn't lower myself to eat such worthless fruit." With that, he turned away, his nose high in the air, and trotted off into the forest. But deep down, Felix knew the truth. He had failed to get what he wanted, and instead of admitting defeat, he tried to comfort himself with excuses. The grapes were never sour. In fact, they were ripe, sweet, and juicy. But Felix's pride would not allow him to confess his weakness. Unbeknownst to him, a little sparrow had been watching the whole scene from a branch nearby. The bird chirped softly to herself. Ah, how strange is the pride of those who cannot admit their limits. Instead of learning patience or finding another way, they simply blame the very thing they desire. She fluttered away, carrying the lesson in her tiny heart, a lesson that spread across the forest as animals repeated the story of the fox and the grapes. Years later, children of the countryside were told the tale as a warning, that one should not despise what cannot be achieved, nor make excuses for one's own shortcomings. Felix the fox became less a creature of cunning in their minds and more a symbol of how pride can twist truth and keep us from growth. Moral of the story: sometimes when we fail to achieve something, we try to convince ourselves it wasn't worth having. But true wisdom lies in accepting our limits, learning from failure, and trying again with patience and perseverance. Excuses will never quench our thirst, but effort and humility will. Outro, YouTube style. And so, dear listener, the story of the fox and the grapes teaches us that we should never let pride stop us from admitting our weaknesses or trying harder.